Today, we're going to graph on a quadratic equation, but really we're just finding one of these missing parts. It's going to ask you in the directions of the equation, it's going to say, give me the vertex of this quadratic equation. Give me the x-intercept of this quadratic equation. So first, we need to figure out how we're going to find those things. And to do that, you need to have your Desmos app opened on your phone or your device and ready to put these in. Because once we put these equations into our graph in Desmos, we'll be able to find all these different things right here and be able to give the answer that the problem is looking for. So, have your Desmos calculator opened and ready to go. So here's my phone, because I'm going to use it on my phone. I'm going to turn my phone on. And then, oops, come on. All right, so now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go into test mode because I do not want anybody bothering me while I am doing this. If you go into regular Desmos, you can still get text and everything else on your phone. But if I come here into test mode, then it locks out my phone so nobody can bother me and I can just focus on my math. And that's what I'm going to do. So with that, I want to come into the graphing calculator because that's what I'm going to be using, and I'm going to start my test. Okay, and it says, hey, I'm going to self-lock your phone so nobody can bother you. Okay, now my iPhone is locked and I am good to go. So now, what I want to do is I want to be able to find these various things on my calculator, but I'm going to have to graph it first. So I need to put this into the bar right here. What's wonderful about Desmos is I can just type the equation in. So let's go ahead and do that. So I first have to switch over to ABC. I'm going to pull this up here so you can see it off to the side here, so you don't need to see what we're looking for yet. Okay, so I'm going to hit ABC, and I'm going to put Y. Where's my Y? Come back to 1, 2, 3. There's my equals. My equation said x squared plus 8x plus 15. So there's my x. That is my x squared where it says that little a squared plus 8x plus 15. So now I have that graph on my calculator and I can see it. So now that I can see it, I can certainly now go ahead and solve all these things about it. So I'm going to come over to this side here. So with that, I'm going to turn my light on to make it brighter, but then it's going to might make a reflection on my calculator. So I'm going to apologize in advance. Makes a little slight reflection on my calculator. So with this right now, first, I need to determine whether it's a maximum or minimum. Well, we did not talk about this before, but just looking here at this equation, I know that it's a maximum or minimum just by the equation. I don't have to graph it. With my minimum, he makes a U, and he's happy because he's got a positive A. So with a positive A, he's happy. When it's an N, he's sad. He has a negative A. So with looking at that right here, I can determine whether he's a maximum or a minimum without ever looking at this graph. Because in my original equation, I have a positive 1x squared. So right away, he's positive. I know I have a minimum. Now, the second thing is I'm looking for my axis of symmetry. What's nice about Desmos is, see how on your calculator, there's like these little gray bubbles right here. They're points. If I touch them, just touch them with your finger, it gives me the ordered pairs. No guessing involved, which is awesome. So to look for my axis of symmetry on here, we know that it is the equation x equals, because it's the x of my vertex being the lowest point on my graph right here. So right away I could go ahead and fill in my vertex to be -4, -1. And then I know that the x of my vertex makes my axis of symmetry x equals -4. Now I come to my x-intercepts. My next x-intercepts is the place it crosses my x-axis right here. and it tells me it's -5, 0, and it tells me it's -3, 0. So right away, I know the two places it crosses my x-axis. Now, my y-intercept's off the graph, but because we are so tech savvy, I can take my fingers and I can move my graph down until I can find right here, and I just tap my phone, and I see I got the bubble right here. There is my y-intercept, 0, 15. It will actually, we can move our phone. What's nice is because it's a phone, it's touchscreen, I can move my graph. I can make it tiny, I can make it big. I can do whatever I want to do with this graph, which is nice. I like it big because I can't see because I'm old. So I'll make it big. So now, my zeros. My zeros, again, I can touch my screen. Come on, screen. I get my bubbles back. Where's my bubbles? There they are. I touched my graph. Sorry, not my screen, my graph. And again, my zeros are the same as my x-intercept. These are the same. They lock together. So my zeros are -5 and -3. I put them in a set notation because there's more than one answer. But because I don't think on dental math you have to do that. I think you just list them in. And I want to find my roots. And again, zeros are solutions, they're roots, they're x-intercepts, they're solutions. They all three tie together. So again, there's my roots. X-intercept, 0, and roots. This answer, and this answer should all be the same. The only thing different about them is how they look. X-intercept is ordered pairs, where roots and zeros are just a listing. Here, I found my highlighter. Sorry, I couldn't find my highlighter before. Those three are the same answer. Those three are the same answer. All right, let's look at number 2. So, I have two choices right now. I can either A, get rid of this graph, or B, type over this graph. There's a little X right over here. Bam, he's gone. Easy. All right, so let's put in the next equation. And I didn't even think about this as the Y is already on this screen. I didn't have to go to the ABCs. So Y equals, I have a negative. A negative is a subtraction sign on my Desmos calculator. X squared plus 10x minus 23. So now I have a graph. He looks like an N. I'm going to turn over to this side so I can see what I'm looking for. All right, now, without even looking at my graph, I should have known right away, was it a maximum or a minimum? Excellent. It was a maximum because I had a negative x squared right there. He was a maximum. Or I could look and he's an N. Either way. So, as I said before, I tap my graph, tap the points, ding, 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 and now I come up with all the good answers that I need. So now, with my vertex, because it's going to be right there, I have 5, 2. That's my vertex, the the highest point of my graph. Now with that, I make my axis of symmetry, which is the line that comes through it, at the x. So it's x equals 5. Remember, it has to be an equation. My x-intercept here, it probably would say to round, but my x-intercept here is 3.5860, 6.4140, which means that when I solved it, it wasn't perfect, so it didn't factor. I had to use the quadratic equation to get that x. Right away, because my mama didn't raise a fool, we all know that, x, 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 they all match. So right away, 3.586, 6.414, 3.586, 6.141. Right away, those three match, fill them in. All right, my y-intercept, I'm going to take my finger and move my graph, touch my graph. I get the gray bubble, touch the gray bubble, And my y-intercept, 0, negative 23. Perfect. Not hard, not crazy. All right, let's do the last one before you go practice them on your own. So I'm going to clear my graph. I'm going to type in. So here I'm going to just type in where I need to type in. So y equals 3x squared minus 12x plus 5. Oh, I didn't reset my graph, so it's way up there. Way up there. All right, so now I'm just pulling this up so we can see everything we need to see here. Hold on, and get organized. All right, so now, is it going to be a maximum or a minimum? Well, my 3 is positive, makes a happy face because he's happy, which makes a minimum. And again, if you look at the graph, he's a minimum. Touch my graph, my 3 gray bubbles come up. Touch my 3 gray bubbles. So I know that my vertex is the lowest point on my graph to negative 7. My axis of symmetry is the vertical line formed at the x, which is 2. So x equals 2. Remember, it has to be an equation. We know that the x-intercept, the zeros, and the roots all have the same answer, which again is an ugly number here. So it's 0.4720 and 3.5280, which right away means my roots are 472 thousandths, 3 and 528 thousandths, and so are my roots. To get to my x-intercept, I'm going to scroll up, touch on the gray bubble. I get 0, 5. On your work today, it's not going to ask for all 6 or 7 of these things. It's going to ask for one at a time. So be careful you know which one you're looking for. That's why we did the parts of the graph last class. And now they're going to ask you the words and you're going to put it in. Next week, we're going to start matching graphs with equations. So that's what we're moving forward to. And writing equations from graphs. All right, guys. Have a great day. See you later.